My wrath is a swift star that falls from the night. My voice is the thunder that shatters the mountains. Anastasia is my name.
Why waste time on a lot of childish inscriptions, Betty? We've got business to talk over with Mr. Rutledge here.
If those inscriptions are so childish, Professor Brewster, suppose you read them.
That's not quite fair, Professor Cleary. Just happens that my father and I have made a lifelong study of this type of Indian writing.
Exactly. And as far as science knows, you are the only ones able to translate.
Dead languages and hieroglyphics are not my specialty, Cleary. Besides, no one today believes in those silly superstitious cults.
The Indians do.
Oh, those ignorant, dirty savages. Why, they...
What do you want, Ota?
Inokani Washke.
Pardon me for a moment.
Oh, what a primitive, masterful Indian. Don't you think so, Professor Franz?
Yes, indeed, Henrietta. A fine representative of the early American.
Let's forget this nonsense and get down to business. We came here to find the lost city of Lukachukai.
I thought the primary object of this expedition was to find my father and Professor Faxon.
Rather, I should say to join them, Betty. We have no evidence that they have been lost.
But it's been over 3 months since I've heard from my father. I know if he were safe, he would have communicated with me.
Your father and Professor Paxson are far too experienced in archaeological exploring to meet with serious difficulties. They have probably made some great scientific discovery that has detained them.
I'm not going to delay the search any longer. If Mr. Rutledge can't supply suitable guides for us, then we'll go on without them.
Oh, Miss Marsh.
Yes?
I've just made arrangements with Ota to guide us in the search for your father.
You mean that primitive, masterful Indian?
Yes.
He doesn't look trustworthy to me, Rutledge. I'm glad you'll be along.
Thanks.
It's Faxon.
He's with the Musketeers.
Where'd you find him, Tucson? About 15 miles up the country. He was out of his head. Mentioned something about your trading post, so I brought him here.
Wasn't there anyone else with him?
No, poor fellow. Now, according to my deductions, he's an escaped convict from the state prison. You see, his wrists show the markings of handcuffs. His hands are calloused from heavy prison labor. And he's probably a foreigner because he keeps raving about a place called Lukachukai. The sun drove him loco, and he...
I'd suggest you keep out of the sun, too. He's not a convict. He's Professor Faxon, a famous scientist, and he's not a foreigner. His ancestors came over on the Mayflower. 3 months ago, Professor Faxon and my father left here to search for the lost city of Lukachukai. He's returned alone.
Don't pay any attention to Sherlock Holmes here, miss. He's the one that's a little loco in the head.
Yep. Reading detective stories done it. Used to be a pretty sane hombre.
There it is again. The whistling skull. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It howls in my ears day and night. Let me go. Let me go.
You're with friends now, Professor Faxon. That's only a museum piece.
Cleary.
Brewster.
Friends.
Professor Faxon, what about my father? Is he alive?
I don't know. We found it. The lost city of Lukachukai. The legends of the Whistling Skull were true. It guards an amazing ancient village. There's an enormous treasure of gold. It took us days to move it, but it's hidden. Hidden where no one can find it. Look. Look. We've got to go back. They've got Professor Marsh. They'll torture him.
Oh, can you lead the way?
Yes, but it's a terrible journey.
How far is it from here?
Did you cross the Chuska Range to find the city?
The Chuskas?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, up the Painted Gorge, then north of the Fork, and then... What's the matter? Right! Let's have all right, Rutledge!
Don't touch that knife, Rutledge. It's a plain case of murder. Everyone in this room is a possible suspect. Stay where you are, all of you. No one is to leave this room until the sheriff arrives. Lullaby, phone the sheriff. Well, hurry up, hurry up.
Well, if you get off my foot.
Listen, Hawkshaw, don't get mixed up in this. Stick with your stories. We got plenty of work to do at the ranch.
Are you able to translate the writing, Miss Marsh?
Whoever shall seek to defile the sacred city shall cry for death and find it not.
Professor Faxon was killed by means of that knife in the hands of an unknown person. I shall have to hold you all as material witnesses.
Sheriff, the curse on this knife handle shows plainly that it's a clear-cut case of Indian vengeance.
I disagree with you, Stoney. The murderer may be unknown, but he's still in this room. The door was closed, and there don't happen to be any windows.
You may be right, Tucson, but the evidence isn't strong enough to prove anything. I'm going to report this case as a non-Indian murder.
Exactly right, Sheriff Blaine.
Faxon was probably trailed from the lost city by some Indian who killed him to ensure his silence.
Well, I intend to continue the search for my father regardless of what's happened.
The expedition will carry on as planned, Betty. Don't...
Where'd it come from, and who does it belong to? Belongs to me, Tex. What's in it?
Only Elmer. Me and him was going to be on an act over at the Charity Bazaar at Rawhide.
Elmer, hey? So there was someone else in the room. Open that bag, Lullaby.
But
I
Elmer...
said open that bag.
You're not under suspicion, Elmer. Say, did anybody think of questioning the sheriff?
What an odd specimen.
You're no bouquet of roses yourself, lady.
The investigation is closed, folks.
It's just about time.
Tony, you know darn well that someone of that group in the room killed Faxon. Why did you pull that Indian stuff?
Well, you're right, Tex, but you could never prove it in court. Now, here's my idea. They're all going on an expedition together, and we're joining them. Give me 1 week's time, and I'll bring back the killer.
I don't know. They're heading into taboo territory. There's a cult of fanatic Indians in those mountains, and they're dead set against white intruders. That danger is bad enough, without having a murderer in the expedition.
Oh, come on, Tex. 1 week from today, and I'll deliver the murderer to you. How about it?
Suits me, but let me have that.
Right.
If you think we're going to go gallivanting around the country with a bunch of goopy scientists, you're crazy. We've got a ranch to take care of.
Besides, Elmer and me's got to be at Rawhide tonight for that Charity Bazaar.
The bazaar can wait. So can the ranch. We're going on that expedition.
We're not going anywhere, but back to our ranch.
Absolutely. Tucson's right.
Well, if that's the way you feel about it.
Of all the cockeyed, harebrained schemes, this is the worst, Stoney. We don't even know where we're going.
Well, Faxon mentioned the Chuska Range. Once there, we'll fish for the right trail. Don't worry, Betty. Miss Marsh.
I guess there isn't really anything to worry about, Stoney. Both you and the sheriff agreed that Faxon was killed by an Indian, didn't you?
Yes, of course, but
I'm not a detective, but I can easily detect when you're lying.
Why, I'm...
I know that whoever killed Faxon is in this party, and I know that you know it, too.
Well, maybe it's better that you do know it. Here, hang on to this. There's no telling.
What a gorgeous panorama. Don't you think so, Mr. Joslin?
Out here, we call them coyotes.
Mr. Joslin, do you care for archaeology?
Oh, I don't know. Never had any. I always thought they was kind of hard to peel.
Oh, you say the cleverest thing. You know, I just adore traveling around the country collecting old fossils.
Well, here's one old fossil you ain't collecting. Hey, Stoney, maybe Miss Betty'd want this chicken-scratching notebook that we picked up near Faxon the day we found it.
Let's have it. It's like Indian hieroglyphics.
Oh, let me see it. Maybe I can read them.
Can you make anything of it?
These hieroglyphics were written by my father. They are instructions and a detailed map on how to reach the lost city.
Then the city really exists.
The map leads to a cave where further directions will be found carved on one of the walls. The entrance to the lost city lies at the base of the Whistling Skull.
As leader of the expedition, I'll take charge of the map.
Why should you have it? Betty's the only one who can decipher the hieroglyphics.
To settle an argument, we'll each take a piece of this map. And when we get stuck for directions, we'll place them all together.
On the lone prairie, where the coyotes howl and the wind blows free, in a narrow grave.
There'll be another murder committed if Coggins keeps on singing that cheerful song.
Hey, Tucson, do you see one?
On the lone
Yeah. He's hanging out dishcloths.
Did you notice anything unusual about it?
Yeah, them dishcloths look kind of dirty to me.
Well, don't you notice anything else?
Where the wild coyote will howl o'er me.
There's 5 dishcloths, clothesline, and a chuck wagon. So what?
Those dishcloths are a signal to somebody. See his face? Those narrow eyes? That's a sign of a killer.
So you're starting all over again.
There's a killer in this party, and from now on, I'm not going to let Coggins get out of my sight.
I'll keep my eyes on Brewster.
I'll take Rutledge and the engine.
Where do you think you're going, Coggins?
Going after firewood, and I don't see any reason for being followed.
Supposing you both get back to camp and stay there.
What's happened? Listen, Betty. It sounded like Cleary's voice.
Is he dead?
Yeah. Probably never knew what hit him.
Oh, I think I'm going to faint.
Looks like the same kind of Indian writing that was on the knife that Faxon was killed with.
You're right, Stoney. And it's the same curse, too.
I think the wisest thing to do is to turn back. It's impossible to cope with an enemy that you can't see.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Rutledge.
Clary's section of the map's gone.
Where's Professor Frank?
Maybe he knows something about this. Oda, you stay here. Well, that's that, I guess.
Hey! One of the horses is gone.
Frank's disappearance proves conclusively that he's mixed up in these murders.
I can't believe it. Professor Frank was one of my father's best friends.
Facts are facts, Betty. The thought of gold in the Lost City probably turned him from an honest explorer into a cold-blooded murderer.
Oh!
The loss of Clary's section of the map puts us in a tough spot.
Map or no map, I intend pushing on in search of my father.
We'll continue the trip tomorrow and take a chance on finding the cave. All of you folks turn in.
So Coggins is the killer, huh, Hawkshaw?
Professor Frank. He's been whipped and tortured. You ever seen that kind of a brand before, Ota?
It's brand a mysterious lost cult who call themselves Sons of Anastasia.
Let's get him back to the wagon where we can take care of his wounds. When I regained consciousness, I was in a camp of strange Indians. They tied me to a sacrificial altar, and after torturing me, burned the sign of their cult on my chest. Then they tied me to my horse and turned me loose. What about your section of the map, Professor Frank? Well, it's in my shirt, and that was stripped from me before the torture.
I'm turning back.
So am I. It's suicide to continue.
Rutledge is right.
If the rest of you want to turn back, that's your privilege. But I intend to keep on and learn definitely whether my father's alive or not.
You can leave if you want to, but all sections of the map stay with us.
Naturally, if Betty goes, we'll all go.
I think it would be the right thing to do, Brewster.
Do just as you like. You stay close to me, won't you, Lullaby?
Don't worry, I ain't got a chance in the world getting separated from you.
Stoney, all our grub and water was on that wagon.
Yeah, I know it. Let's head back. What happened?
We were attacked from the rocks. Couldn't see who it was.
Well, where's Betty and Lullaby?
I don't know.
We'll make camp here, Rutledge, and prepare for a siege if necessary. We're going back and look for them.
What happened, Lullaby, and where's Betty?
Search me. Horses fell, and when I come to a minute ago, she wasn't nowhere to be seen.
What, that rope didn't get here by itself?
That's no Indian rope, it's a white man's. There's the trail, let's follow it.
Look. Keep me covered with your guns. I'm going to get that guard out of the way. Called the religious fanatics that tortured Frank. See if you can spot Betty. It's Betty. Watch it, boys. I'm going down.
attempt to follow us, my men won't miss with their next shots.
I warn you to turn back or your entire party will be wiped out.
Those drums are driving crazy. We'll never find the cave. We've got to turn back. Can't go back without water. Our only chance is to find the lost city.
I know we're traveling in the right direction.
You can't be positive. With the three most important sections of the map missing and another day of this thirst, we won't be able to travel.
We're almost there. I'm sure we'll find Shins in that cave.
Lady, you forget I'm a detective. I'm going to solve this